Listen, call me crazy, but I honestly think Windbreaker very well is the best animated action series of the year so far. And this is not me saying stuff like Soul Leveling or I'm sure Mushoku Tensei. Like, there are some really good shows with some insane production value. But I personally think a pure hand-to-hand, fisticuffs, kicks, roundhouse kicks, that's all this show is. There is a little bit of weaponry, because sometimes people do got some stuff in their hands that the guy get knocked out. But at the end of the day, when you look at this arc in particular, with this 5 rounds of 5 different fights, we've gone through 3. And all 3 of those are better produced than a lot of shows' big fight of their anime season. And I think, well, in terms of character design consistency, the general comedy animation, there's plenty of shows that I think you could point out from this year that are better produced there. But in terms of the actual action animation, well, there's been a couple of small fights that we didn't really get to see. The first episode and everything that we've seen over the past couple, I think that is better produced than probably a lot of stuff we're going to see this year. And as it stands for me, I'm gonna die on this hill that Windbreaker is legitimately, because it's not just that it's good looking, you can keep up with it. Often action anime, unless you're pausing and going frame by frame, it can be hard to see all the little nuances. This is so smooth and well animated. There is so many amazing in-between frames that you can keep up with it like you're actually watching people who are trained in martial arts fight. It is smooth, it's coherent, and the fighting choreography is jaw-dropping. The past couple of episodes, I've had to rewind a couple of times because I had to do a playback. I felt like I was a newscaster, just at a sporting event. I was like, replay that. Did he really just... People are bending over and doing roundhouse kicks in these insane way. And rather than it feeling like, oh, it's anime and it's superhuman, these boys just built different. People can have their opinions, but call me crazy, I'm dying on the hill. For me anyway, Windbreaker is my number 1 for action. Because the choreography, the animation, it's stellar. Full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full uncut thoughts to this latest episode or any of these Windbreaker episodes. Going to be over there if you're interested. I said it last week, feel bad for anyone sleeping on Windbreaker. Thank God for Japan, man, because this show popping off in Japan, but still a lot of people sleeping in outside anyway in the English speaking community. But people can say what they want. They'll say I'm not going to watch it because it's a fart joke, and it's like, okay, if you're not going to watch an amazing show because you laugh at a name because it's kind of like an innuendo for farts, I mean, that's on you, man. Most of the anime I watch have dumb names. You know how many fantasy isekai shows have the dumbest and most obnoxiously large names but are actually pretty freaking good? Make the joke, but watch the damn show. But it's like I said, there isn't a big hook, there isn't a big death at the start of it, there's not a time travel gimmick, so therefore, it doesn't hook in quite as many. That's fine, we all have our preferences, but boy are we eating good. I thought I was walking into this episode where we'd have 2 fights, and then we'd come into next week and we'd have the captains fighting. Nope, 1 more fight, and I honestly thought we were losing. Last week I said, I could see our main character losing, Sakura losing, I could see that, but at the same time, he has a shot at winning, and honestly, I was predicting that potentially our captain would lose, because I think it would be interesting for the arc, and honestly, it'd be interesting, there's no other way to put it. But Sakura didn't get to fight, instead we had Hiragi, and I firmly believed he was losing. The first half of this fight, not only was he mostly on the defensive, I actually believed his opponent, this man was playing some Kendrick Lamar. He hated the way that man walked. He hated the way that man... he hated everything about him. And there was some personal beef there. Then the second half came in. Now, this man got in a nasty kick, and he threw him. Thank God for our boy not only giving him that pep talk to really unleash the beast, but also, it did feel like, during the second half, he might have been pulling his punches a little much. What's great about this... I still think Suo is probably my favorite of the characters we've seen so far. That eye patch bastard is just a riot and I love him. But I firmly believe Hiragi had not only the best fight we've seen so far, but the best story that we've seen so far. Now, not everyone's going to have a connection with the people they're fighting, but in this case we did. Imagine having a character who followed this man for years, thinking he was the number 1, and they were both going to go to Bofurin, and, he's like, yeah, you're going to be number 1, this was before the hierarchy, and he decided to say, I'm actually going to follow someone, and you shouldn't follow me, because I'm not going to be who you're expecting. I think it's an understandable, rivalry there, of, feeling almost, discredited, because you're like, okay, one, I still want to be like he got it. Like he's like, you know, it's not coming from a place of malice, but still like he wanted to be with him. Two, why would someone as strong as him not rise to the top? Because who could be stronger than him? And then it just became like once he saw who he ended up being, like he's at this like chummy school, it's like of course he's gonna get weaker. The story arc made sense, but what I love is when the second half comes out and he starts beating this fool, it just felt like he got his second wind and the shackles, the chains came off, the weights that were holding him down came off. And it was just so interesting because most of the fight I'm thinking he's going to lose. Because at the end of the day, the first 4 fights, they don't matter in the grand picture. It's only the captains. Whatever happens there determines the winner. So we could have a flawless victory, we could have ups and downs, and it wouldn't matter. But I love how it's just so impressive to see like a top 5 of their school and a top 4 of ours, and just how they actually felt like equals despite it kind of going back and forth. What I love though is the vice captain. So this dude's a douchebag. No other way to put it. Perfect villain type character. He's the type of guy to throw him off stage, to rip their... If you lose, you're gone. And what's so salty and amazing about this moment is our boy Hiragi puts him down gently and he tries to remove his coat and he stops him saying, you might want to wait till your fight's over. And this is kind of like a double whammy because one, it's a sign of respect. Like he might have lost, but are you really going to discard someone who's that impressive? But it almost felt like a dig at him as well because as far as he knows, right? Like imagine ripping the jacket off this man, going up there and then losing. Then he would have to give up his jacket. But if you don't take his jacket right now, maybe there's an argument to be made if you do lose that you can keep yours as well. It just kind of felt like a dig, but it also kind of got under his skin because it's like, why wouldn't I... Okay. And it's funny because if you look at their captain, like the head leader, who's this like childlike innocence at face value, I feel like a lot of people probably could keep their jackets if they didn't piss them off, but the vice captain is just so gun-ho about if you lose once you're out. And it's a toxic environment, but I love the fact that our group is just like, they're homies. They have each other's back and you feel like you actually want to support them. The only thing this other school has going on for them that is better than Bufurin is that their outfits are just way better for drip. Like they have amazing jackets. I think their drip is amazing. But personality wise, they're just absolute bitches. And like I said, like I don't think there's anything wrong if people have a different opinion of what's their favorite action they've seen of this year, but I truly think the hand choreography, the fighting choreography, the kicks, the punches, everything about this, it's not just that it's 1 or 2 good looking punches. It actually feels like you're watching real people move. The animation is that freaking smooth and doesn't feel superhuman. I mean, when they punch the ground as hard as they can and their hand doesn't break, yeah, that's a little superhuman, but in terms of the actual action, it's top tier. Let me know what you thought down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you know if I went upload more. And of course, like I mentioned, we have those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we have FL Fax, Match, Mate, DanBro77, Carl Stephanie Berndl, and we also have Vlad Zablos. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.